So, if you've been watching the news recently, you've likely heard about Russia's invasion of the Ukraine. Grim pictures have flooded the airwaves. Dozens of soldiers dead, bombs exploding in famous cities, and a defiant Putin against the world. So, what's actually happening in the Ukraine? What does Russia hope to achieve? And what could be next? So, for months, Russia has been amassing as many as 190,000 troops along the Ukrainian border, which they claimed to be training exercises, but which the US warned seemed to be signs of an impending invasion. Right now, Russia has launched an all-out invasion of the Ukraine. As of Thursday night, over 40 Ukrainian soldiers were killed in the first hour of fighting, over 70 Ukrainian military targets have been destroyed, and over a dozen Ukrainian towns have been shelled, including Kharkiv and the capital city of Kiev. Over 44 million people live in the Ukraine and are now scrambling on what to do next. There are long lines of people trying to withdraw money from banks, buy food and supplies, and preparing to flee or join the army. The humanitarian effects of this invasion are likely to be massive and long-lasting. So why is this happening? For many years, Russia's president Vladimir Putin has wanted to control the Ukraine, Russia's neighbor, which he views as Russia's rightful property due to much of their shared culture and history and the fact that many Russian nationals live within the Ukraine. Putin has gone so far as to argue that the Ukraine is an illegitimate country that exists on Russian land. Putin has also criticized the dissolution of the Soviet Union and has expressed a desire to reunite or resurrect the Soviet Union. And Putin also says he feels threatened by NATO, a military alliance of the United States and European powers, because it has included members like Hungary, Poland, Latvia, and the Czech Republic that were once part of the Soviet Union. And Putin views NATO as a threat to his power in the region and feels as if Russia has been kind of losing relevance on the world stage. So in a way, this invasion is his way of saying that Russia is still a powerful country to be feared and a nuclear state that countries need to include in world affairs. And in recent years, the Ukraine has sought to join NATO, and that hope to join NATO is even written into the Ukrainian constitution. Putin views the Ukraine joining NATO as a threat to Russia's security and has used that as an excuse to invade the country and violate the Ukraine's sovereignty. In 2014, Putin annexed the Ukrainian region of Crimea, which has a large Russian population, after Ukrainian protesters ousted the Ukraine's pro-Russian president in massive street protests. Although there was significant outrage across the globe, there were not major lasting ramifications for Putin, which emboldened him to continue violating the Ukraine's sovereignty. On Tuesday, February 22nd, Putin sent troops into the Ukrainian areas of Donetsk and Luhansk. He claimed that those troops were peacekeeping, but that was widely viewed as just a cover for the invasion. Putin spread a misinformation campaign saying that those regions had Russian separatist movements who wanted to found their own country. So Putin recognized these regions as new countries, but in reality that was widely seen as a ploy to justify his invasion of the Ukraine. On February 23rd, Putin made a speech defending his military action, appealing to Russian nationalism, falsely claiming that the Ukraine was oppressing Russians, and arguing that the Ukraine's borders were an invention. These claims made it seem likely that Putin doesn't just have his sights on a few areas of the Ukraine, but on invading the entire country. So, what could be next? Well, now the world is in a tricky situation. The United States and the European Union want to confront Russia, but it would be difficult to do so without escalating the conflict into an all-out war. Russia is a nuclear power with a strong military, so the US and EU have expressed that they want to avoid a direct military confrontation. So the main consequences for Russia will likely be economic. For instance, imposing sweeping sanctions on the Russian economy, freezing the assets of many powerful Russians, or refusing to cooperate with Russia in trade agreements. More consequences will be announced later and throughout this week as the world kind of formulates their response together. As youth, what's happening in Russia and the Ukraine will have lasting effects on us. It is a terrifying reality, and we need to try to support one another during these difficult times. The most important thing we can all try to do is stay vigilant against Russian propaganda and always try to see through to the facts of the situation. We also need to be prepared to support the Ukrainian victims of the situation, either economically or through accepting Ukrainian refugees, if and when it comes to that. With the whole world watching, we have to confront. What now?